Gavin Newsom is a greasy snake. That has been well established. But because Gavin desperately yearns to be a main character and or a real housewife of the French Laundry, he's tried out several characters over the last year alone, dialing that persona up a bit in a pathetic attempt to appear macho. Full-blown a-hole, with the help of his official press office account. Donald Trump is funny. Donald Trump is authentically savage. Gavin is not. Gavin is just an ambitious a-hole who is obsessed with himself. Is the White Dudes for Harris co-founder also a white dude for Gavin? Well, let me ask him, because Liberal Tuesday starts right now. Gavin Newsom is a greasy snake. That has been well established. But because Gavin desperately yearns to be a main character and or a real housewife of the French Laundry, he's tried out several characters over the last year alone. He went from Otto Penn Joe's biggest apologist to sports and culture podcaster to moderate podcaster to his latest character, full-blown a-hole, with the help of his official press office account. To be clear, Gavin has always been an a-hole, but he's now working on dialing that persona up a bit in a pathetic attempt to appear macho. And the result is not giving macho or masculine, it's giving, well, pure a-hole. And here are just a few examples of the pure classlessness. He even went so far as to troll Scott Presler, calling him Nancy Mace. Apparently the governor of the gayest state in America, I didn't make that up, truly it has the highest LGBTQ population, and who has vowed over and over and over again to defend this community, doesn't see even the slightest bit of hypocrisy making fun of a gay conservative by calling him a woman. Now, let me be clear. I'm not a sensitive person. His jokes don't hurt or offend me. He was tweeting about me all last night. I could not care less. But whoever is consulting him, that this shtick is working for him, certainly isn't worth the huge check that he, she, they, them have been written, no doubt. Donald Trump is funny. Donald Trump is authentically savage. He doesn't have to try that hard to be relevant. He just is. Gavin is not. Gavin is just an ambitious a-hole who is obsessed with himself. He's also the governor of the most populous state in the nation, a state that is failing, and yet he is using his office's official press account to deliver this kind of smut. Joining me now to give his unfiltered take on this Liberal Tuesday is Democratic strategist and White Dudes for Harris co-founder, Mike Nellis. Mike, I'm very happy to have you, and I gotta get your reaction right off the bat here. I know you were a white dude for Harris. Are you also a white dude for Gavin?
No, I'm not a white dude for Gavin, but I do think it's funny how outraged conservatives are when all Gavin Newsom's doing is emulating Donald Trump's own tactics and just creating dumb attention and memes online. Like, I don't get why you're so offended by it.
So again, I'm not offended by it. I don't think it's a good look for a sitting governor. Now, you can say all day long, oh, the president does it, the president does it. You're correct. He does do it. And some conservatives don't like that the president does it, mind you. But Gavin Newsom is doing this, of course, to troll President Trump. And I said to my team earlier, like, if he would have just done it a couple of times last week with, like, the biggest, most beautiful maps, I'd be like, listen, ha, kind of funny, like, you're trying to beat Trump, haha. But it's the continuation of it, and it's the degree to which he's taken it and his press office has taken it. He's not Donald Trump. Right? So when you try to be like Donald Trump and you continue the shtick for 2 weeks, and that's all that your official press office account is doing, is trying to be like Donald Trump, do you think that that's in his best interest if he seriously does want to be a presidential contender in 2028?
Well, I think, what did you call Newsom? You called him a shameless. Or you called him, am I allowed to curse on here? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I called him an a-hole, but if you want to call him the real thing, you sure can.
Well, no, I'm asking the question because I think you called him like a shameless a-hole, and I think that may be to a certain degree Gavin Newsom's brand, but that's also Donald Trump's brand, and I think all he's really doing is holding up a mirror and responding in kind, and that's a social media strategy that he's engaging with. Personally, I would prefer to talk about the issues. I would prefer to talk about the fact that the economy is tanking right now, that people are frustrated with inflation, that people are frustrated with the direction that the country's headed in. They were frustrated 8 months ago. They're more frustrated than they are today. What Newsom's doing is creating a lot of attention for himself centered around the gerrymandering fight, because Donald Trump ordered Texas Republicans to gerrymander Texas to help them win the midterms. Newsom's taking advantage of that by emulating the same tactics. It's one approach to run in the Democratic primary. I think it'll probably work for him for in the short term, at least. But What I don't get is why conservatives are so riled up about it. It's really not that different than what y'all did about 2 weeks ago when you were freaking out about Sydney Sweeney's jeans and making stuff up about what liberals were saying about it.
Conservatives didn't make that up. You realize that, right? We didn't make up the outrage. Like, there was people that were saying on ABC, which is not a fringe network, by the way, saying that this was eugenics, that it was promoting white supremacy. We didn't make up the outrage. You realize that, right? Like, we didn't put that out.
Can I jump in here though? Because you actually tweeted something I think yesterday that I thought I actually really appreciated about you, because you were calling out other conservatives who were complaining about male cheerleaders, right? That was your tweet, correct?
Yeah.
So what I have observed, and I've been doing a lot of right-wing media in the last 6 months, is every time I go on, I'm always amazed at the questions I get asked, because I get asked about stuff that I don't care about, that I'm not talking about, and I never see any liberals talking about. Ultimately, with the Sydney Sweeney stuff, there were 5 idiot liberals online who decided that the ad was offensive. Then the conservative movement decided to make it their entire personality for the sake of 2 weeks. Donald Trump was talking about it. It was either last week or the week before. It was about the only thing he talked about. He didn't talk about anything of substance. He didn't talk about the economy. He didn't talk about what he was doing to improve this country, because he doesn't have an economic agenda. And for the most part, the conservative movement doesn't have anything other than grievances. So in this instance, they want to talk about Sydney Sweeney's jeans. They want to talk about, what was it? People were mad that Cynthia Erivo was playing Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ Superstar. That's what they want to be talking about. You don't want to be talking about the economy. You don't want to be talking about Epstein. You don't want to be talking about Putin
Peace
walking
deal.
all over Donald Trump on Friday.
Well, we're going to get to that. Don't you worry.
Let's get into it. I'm all for it.
Don't you worry. I have so many areas that I want to dig into with you on the policy side. But before that, I do want to just go and finish up our discussion on Gavin Newsom. Okay. So I want to, and again, I appreciate that you notice that I'm unafraid to call out my own side. I've never had a problem with doing it. I've taken a lot of flack for it, as I'm sure you can tell on social media. But again, what I'm saying here, Gavin and his press office, they can do whatever they want. And you can say that the economy in the United States is failing and everyone hates Donald Trump. I don't think that's reflected in the polls, especially as compared to the Democrats. But if you're going to say that, you've got to look at California and all the struggles there. And then for Gavin Newsom's official press account to just be tweeting this to try to beat Trump, it's fine if you're just trying to run for president in 2028. But when you're a sitting governor, I'm not sure that lands with the constituents, right? When they're dealing with the homelessness and they're dealing with an affordability crisis and they're dealing with trying to rebuild their homes and feeling like they've been forgotten by the mayor and the governor. I'm not so sure that that lands well for them. Now, maybe in California it does. But I also want to pull up another tweet that was made, or X or whatever you want to call it. Again, not only just the Scott Presler thing, calling him a woman, but also saying stick to Grindr. Like, listen, the left, I thought, was very much sensitive to LGBTQ, right? That's the left's playbook. So for them to be tweeting and making fun of Grindr and then in essence making fun of gay people, do you think that that's the tactic to take when you are the governor of the state that's got the most gay people in the country?
I mean, I don't see how that's making fun of gay people. And I thought you all were telling us to lighten up and stop being so woke. So I don't know why you're coming at me with a woke POV, but I want to just dive back on something you said a second ago, which is that, I'm saying that the economy is bad. You don't think the polls are reflective of that, or that reality is reflective of that. But there's a lot of polling information out there that people are super frustrated. Fox News' poll has Donald Trump negative 30% on inflation. He's as unpopular as Joe Biden ever was. There was a new poll out this morning from YouGov that has Donald Trump as unpopular on the economy broadly as Joe Biden ever was. You have only 20% of Americans say the economy is strong right now. So it isn't me, a Democratic strategist, coming on your show telling you that the economy is wrong, is that people are crying out for relief. And Republicans are making, in my view, the same mistake that Democrats did in the last 4 years, which is you're trying to gaslight people into believing that the economy is strong when it isn't. You're trying to get them to focus and fixate on other stuff. Democrats spent a lot of time in the last election talking about defending our democracy and talked about a whole bunch of other issues. Those things are important, don't get me wrong, but we didn't focus on people's core basic economic needs. You're leading your show with Gavin Newsom's tweets, which is frankly tactically what he wants you to do. He wants you to open and make it about a grievance towards Gavin Newsom. What we're not talking about is anything we're going to do to help people. And that's the whole mistake that Donald Trump is making, because he got that last year. He promised he was going to get grocery prices down. He promised he was going to make the economy the number one issue, and we were going to have more jobs than ever before. Everything was going to be so cheap and amazing. And 8 months in, none of that's materialized. And now the entire right-wing ecosystem is denying that the economy is even an issue, which is the same mistake that Democrats made last year.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I do think, though, with the official numbers that have come out on inflation, on GDP, on investment in America, on, this was supposed to be this apocalyptic tariff situation that never came to be.
Can I point out, though, inflation is up. Like, if you were mad about inflation last year being at about 2.5, 2.7%, it's at 3.1% on core inflation right now. And if you look at PPI, which is basically the amount of money it costs for companies to make their products, it's as high as it was at the height of the inflationary crisis under Joe Biden, which happened globally, to be clear, and it's only happening in America. So there's really nowhere for you to run to say that the economic numbers are good or the polling numbers are good, because the economic numbers are bad and people are very mad about it, and it's showing up in the polls.
Yeah. And again, the official numbers on inflation and on the jobs report and all this, I'm not saying that it's fantastic, stupendous. I think it's going to take a while for these investments in America to bear fruit. I think it's going to take a while to realize the strength of the tariffs and those deals that are going to come to be. You're not going to get me sitting here being like, everything's perfect. Things aren't perfect. There's definitely room for improvement. But to say that everything is so awful and this president has done nothing and that he only wants to talk about Sydney Sweeney, that's not being, morally or intellectually honest either. He was asked about Sydney Sweeney, but that's not what he's been talking about. And for you to say that, when this president has, in a matter of less than a week, has sat down with Putin, has sat down with the Europeans and Zelensky, and is now working to broker a peace deal. And for you to say, well, he's just doing nothing. Even the leaders in Europe, who are not necessarily always Donald Trump fans, even they have to give it up to him, saying that he's done great work and we're moving towards peace. And it's frustrating to me that even when those big things are happening, that Democrats can't even give an inch, can't even say, like, this is great, we might be edging towards peace. Can't even give him that. Like, is that so hard? Just be like, we're happy that there's an effort being made to end a war.
Well, let's split that up for a second, because when I'm talking about Donald Trump doing nothing, I'm talking about him doing nothing on the economy. He stood on the front of the White House lawn and he said that he had defeated inflation. Inflation was defeated. And then his own government is telling him that inflation is higher. And what does he do? He fires the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he doesn't like the job numbers and he doesn't like the inflation numbers, which is not something that a president who is in control and in touch with the American people would do. So that's number one. Everything's getting worse. People are frustrated. Let's talk about Putin and Ukraine for a second, because Putin comes to the United States. Donald Trump has members of the United States military on their hands and knees laying out a red carpet for a murderous dictator who invaded a sovereign ally of the United States. And Trump has been all over the place here. Earlier in the day on Friday, you had right-wing influencers like yourself. I'm not saying it was you, Tomi, because I don't remember seeing a tweet from you, so I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. But there were a lot of other influencers out there in this ecosystem who were saying, today is the day that Donald Trump is bringing peace to the world. We're going to end this war today. It's going to be amazing. He's going to get Putin in a room and we're going to get the art of the deal. And you know what he got? He got nothing. And Fox News' own reporting says that in the room, it was a disaster and it was not good and that people were embarrassed and Trump was very frustrated leaving that. And the challenge is, like, I don't know that we're any closer to peace. You talked about European leaders coming to the United States this week. They came to meet with Zelensky because the last time Trump met with Zelensky, Trump tried to bully him and was frankly on live TV to the president of Ukraine.
So when Finland said we've accomplished more in 3.5 days than 3.5 years, do you think that they were just saying that
that's what they're going to say?
Why would they, though? They've never
they've never shied away for the sake of looking good in the public. That's a pretty common thing. They have never
shied away from criticizing President Trump. Let's be clear. They have never shied away from criticizing President Trump. And y'all on the left, too, said President Trump gets elected, NATO is over. No, NATO increases their spending.
Well,
NATO's probably strong.
I don't think anybody said that, and certainly not me.
Nobody said that. I think that.
Well, I'm gonna try to not put words in your mouth, Tomi. I would appreciate if you didn't put words in mine.
But I think President Biden said it, and I think Kamala Harris said it. So it's not just.
If you can find me those quotes, I haven't seen them. Maybe.
You think President Biden said nothing about President Trump destroying NATO?
Well, I think Trump has been pretty open about not liking NATO.
No, not liking NATO, not paying their fair share, which now they are.
That's part of it.
Yeah, which now they are. So another victory for this president. But
I mean, would you admit that throughout the course of Donald Trump's political career, he's flirted with, dictators like Putin and the guy from North Korea and the rest of them?
So here's my question.
He seems to have an affinity for people like that.
So here's my question for you. How do you think the president of the United States is going to maneuver to end a war without speaking to the leader of the country that waged it? Do you think it's possible not to include that person in the discussion to get him to stop killing people?
Oh, I don't have a problem with him meeting with Putin. I have a problem with him rolling out the red carpet and inviting him to American soil. because that's a massive political win for Vladimir Putin. I have a problem with Donald Trump posting on Truth Social that Ukraine could end the war at any time when Ukraine is the country that was invaded by Russia. So the problem is with Donald Trump's rhetoric is he comes off, maybe he doesn't mean to, maybe it's just the way that he talks, but he comes off as someone who is very sympathetic to the Russian version of events that have played out here. Russia invaded a sovereign ally of the United States. Ukraine is a democracy. It is on Russia's border. They're terrified of it. And ultimately, I believe that we should allow Ukraine to join NATO and become part of the Western alliance here, because that's good for the world writ large. Donald Trump's already taken that off the table, which delivered a giant win, in my opinion, to Vladimir Putin before he even gave anything up. So maybe you're right that Donald Trump isn't pro-Russia or isn't like interested in being friends with Putin, but he certainly comes off that way to the rest of us who are watching what he says.
To you. He comes off the way to you, because that's the lens with which you view the world. And it's understandable.
I think if you ask the majority of Americans, they would say the same thing, that it's one of the graver concerns.
So you think slapping on sanctions and slapping on sanctions on India and trying to topple their economy to get Putin to the table, you think that's what, because he put a carpet out? He also flew bombers overhead. And I would also note that Putin's carpet was much skinnier than President Trump's carpet. That wasn't an accident. So I know that you guys are mad. It's like, oh no, he talked to Putin. It's like, that's how you have to go about things to end a war. And your guy, to be fair, was asleep. Your guy, to be fair, didn't get anyone in a frickin' room, except for Zelensky, when Zelensky was coming asking for his check.
First of all, my guy has a name. His name is President Biden. All right. And I have plenty of criticism for President Biden and how things were handled, particularly on his age. And if you've seen me online, you know, I stand up to my party too and tell them when they're wrong.
Okay.
In this case, though, President Biden actually rallied the West around Ukraine. Like Putin decided to
give them
invade
money,
because he thought, well, he thought the West was weak and that the West would allow him to take Ukraine.
Why do you think that Putin thought that the West was weak? Who was the president when he made the small incursion? Because it wasn't Donald Trump.
Sure, but even if that's what he thought, broadly, Joe Biden brought the West together and rallied around Ukraine.
Really?
I think hopefully you can agree with that. Because keep in mind, Republicans at the time said, oh, this is going to be a disaster. Putin's going to take Ukraine. It's going to be like 72 hours. It's going to be a week. And we've been dragging this out for 4 years. We've actually exposed how weak and inept Russia's military is and made them a lot weaker on the national stage because of this, which you have to give some credit to President Biden for.
But what did he do beyond writing our tax dollars in checks to Ukraine? What did he do?
I mean, he worked with other world leaders to get them on the same page.
But what did he do besides giving money? Besides giving your money and my money and the rest of the country's money, besides that, what did he do?
I mean, giving money is a part of that, but you can make the same argument for the money that the U.S. government gives to anybody. You can make the same argument against Israel if you wanted. How is that in the best interest of the American people? By the same logic that you're making.
Yeah. Well, and first of all, I have been critical of funding other nations that I believe should, in large part, take care of themselves or repay that or give us something in return. So if you want to do the whole, but Israel, I support Israel, but I'm not somebody who believes in a blank check to anybody. But I would say this, just giving money and not brokering any type of peace just makes for an endless war. So Ukraine could not win it and Russia wasn't going to stop. So you need to do something here. And our president is the one that's making those moves. President Biden did not do it. President Biden did not do anything outside of gather people together, embarrass us every time he wandered off from an event, okay, and write checks with our money. What did he do?
I disagree with that, because if your idea of Ukraine winning the war is what, conquering Russia, if that's what it is, it's preventing their country from being taken over. A strong, empowered Russia that spreads through Eastern Europe is a massive threat to our Western European allies, is a massive threat to the United States, because it destabilizes the world, puts us back in a position where we can be worried about another Cold War, worried about World War III, which I don't think any of us.
Should we go to war with Russia then? To defend
I don't
Ukraine?
think we should go to war with Russia, but I think we should be supporting our ally in Ukraine.
Yeah, and you don't think we're doing that currently?
I think we're doing it. We were doing it under Biden. I think we continue to do it under Trump. I will give Trump credit. I thought that he would be worse on Ukraine, and it does seem like he's come around. So I will give him credit on that. But I still think the way that he approaches Putin and Russia is very naive.
Okay. Well, maybe Gavin can get in there and make a grinder joke. Maybe that'll save the day.
Maybe an AI-generated meme of Jesus Christ praying over him for peace or something like that.
Yeah, perhaps. Another thing for you, I want to play a clip. I'm not saying that these are your people or you agree with them, but they're certainly not Republicans or conservatives. They're certainly not MAGA. Let's take a listen to the latest protest endeavor in D.C.
D.C. is our home. You can't have it wrong.
Did that inspire you? Did that uplift you to fight President Trump? Did it work to conquer President Trump? Do you think that that's really doing it?
I couldn't hear it. What was it? A bunch of liberals singing in the streets?
I mean, you nailed it.
This is what it looked like. I'm not one for singing in the streets. So I respect anybody that wants to go out there and do it. I couldn't possibly care less. I mean, I think it's really easy to chop up different clips of different groups of people and make them look silly. I think we could do that to your side all day.
But I didn't chop that up. That was what they were doing.
That was that particular group, right? But like, at different times, I could show you a group of conservatives at a rally for Donald Trump who were holding semen cups that said JD Vance on it, and I thought that was particularly weird. So there's weirdos in both parties that do weird shit.
But this is the protest that the left is doing currently. This is not just I found a couple of weird people.
I don't know any of the details about this particular event. So
you don't think that they're doing this in DC? Do you think I made up that clip?
No. I'm not saying you didn't make it up. I'm just saying, like, don't make it representative of the entire base of Democrats. But let's actually just take like a full step back on Washington, D.C. for a second and talk about what Donald Trump did and why, because I think that's probably, I would guess, more interesting to people than some dumb rally that a bunch of liberals hosted. So Donald Trump wants to talk about crime. I'm all in for talking about crime. I'm a Democrat that'll tell you I think crime is an issue nationwide. I think it's a mistake for other Democrats to act like it isn't. And what I doubt here is the sincerity that Donald Trump actually cares about crime. And I think, again, to the point I made earlier, this is just another attempt by Donald Trump to distract from the things that he doesn't want to talk about. Because crime is an issue now, as of last Monday, when he decided to federalize the DC police force. But it wasn't an issue when he signed the Republican budget, which cut billions of dollars from community policing. It wasn't an issue for Republicans to talk about law and order when Donald Trump pardoned cop beaters at the January 6th insurrection.
Oh,
so
January 6th.
I just doubt the sincerity of it, because Donald Trump had no problem pardoning cop beaters. And Tomi, I didn't see you speaking out about that.
Whoa. Check the record.
Did you?
I've spoken out about January 6th numerous times, including on January 6th, number one.
Okay, good.
Now,
I applaud you for that. I didn't know that, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I know every time a liberal mentions January 6th, an angel gets its wings, right? So good job getting that one in there. January 6th. Like, you've got it. Good job. Put one up on the board. But
yeah, I get like a little George Soros token on my app.
Yes, there you go. You brought up January 6th. Okay. But moving forward.
Is that what much different than you bringing up Joe Biden's age multiple times here when Biden isn't president anymore? Like, we're both going to do that.
Well, bringing up his age because he was the president of the United States. And if there were folks that were hiding his cognitive decline and lying to the world about how much he was actually leading the country, yeah, I think we kind of got to get to the bottom of that. I think that they did an entire committee on January 6th, right? They came up with nothing.
Even the January 6th committee is not a real committee that's designed to get any answers. It's a distraction.
So what more answers
Don't get me wrong.
Do you want, though?
I think the way that the Biden White House handled Joe Biden's age and health was horrendous. And I've spoken out about it repeatedly. But the point that I'm making to you is like, yeah, I'm going to bring up January 6th because I'm off that the president of the United States at the time tried to overthrow the government and encourage people to break into the Capitol building. And then when he got back in power 4 years later, which I'm the first to tell you, I think is our fault for doing a bunch of stupid for the last couple of years. And the first thing he does is he pardons cop beaters. Like, I would just prefer some like general consistency in terms of people caring about law and order, in terms of caring about how we're moving this country forward, because we're just bogged down in repeating the same talking points, and it ends up being a big waste of everybody's time.
Well, I would debate you on the whole January 6th thing, but it's not even, like you said, worth our time. So I want to ask you about this crime thing again. You acknowledge there's a crime crisis. You don't think President Trump actually cares. I would disagree with you. I think going in and saying we're going to actually solve this problem, and then you see the numbers and the arrests that are being made, I think that shows incredible care. And law and order is something this president has cared about since he ran the first time. And it's something that Democrats really, they poo-poo. And I don't know if you think strategically telling people, well, it was worse in 2023. Do you think that makes people feel safer in DC and other major cities?
No, I don't think it makes people feel safer to tell them that crime is better than it was 2 years ago. You need to continually show improvement on crime numbers to make people feel like they're safer. But again, to my point about the sincerity of this, Donald Trump decided last Monday that there was a crisis in DC, that he's got to use emergency powers to call on the National Guard to deal with the crisis in DC. I don't believe there's a crisis. I believe there's a crime problem. But that same crime problem plays out everywhere. Donald Trump said the same thing in LA a few months ago during the situation with Gavin Newsom and the ICE raids. And, you're 3 times more likely to be murdered in Alabama, Mississippi, or Tennessee than you are in California. So again, if conservatives cared about crime, if they cared about the murder rate, they would try to be working on fixing those issues in those states. Instead, Donald Trump is pulling National Guard troops out of those states and sending them to Washington, D.C. So you either care about crime everywhere or you only care about crime where it's politically convenient for you to score points.
I care about crime everywhere. Memphis is I think the murder capital of the country, Memphis, Tennessee, not run by Republicans. But if President
is Trump, the governor of Tennessee a Republican?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
And listen, if Governor Lee wanted to send the National Guard in to help crack down on crime in Memphis, I would be the first cheerleader for it. If President Trump wanted to send the National Guard just to Nashville because he's like, hey, listen, I want you guys to be a little safer, I'd be like, please send them. So I get that the talking point is like, oh, you're picking certain cities. No, you're getting I want safety in every city. And if
Tomi, it isn't a talking point for me. Like, I come from a law enforcement household. My father was a 34-year veteran of the FBI. Like, I care a great deal about this. I care about crime in DC. I care about it here in Chicago. I care about it in Mississippi too, where Mississippi
I do too.
is a state with massive crime problems. The problem is Republicans only talk about it in the context of 4 major American cities because it's easy to demagogue Chicago and New York and DC, harder to talk about it in your own backyard. Mississippi is basically overrun with established Republican politicians everywhere, and they're not doing anything about it being the highest murder rate state in the country. So, and I'm pretty sure that it is the highest murder rate state in the country, and 4 of the top 5 murder states in the country are all Republican states. The 4th is New Mexico, which I blame on Walter White for some reason.
New Mexico is a real hellhole. I've been there. Albuquerque is nothing to write home about, especially if
I've been to Albuquerque. It's fine. That's nice.
Oh, well, when I spoke in Albuquerque.
I've been to Biloxi too. In Mississippi, I like Biloxi just as much.
Well, good. So. I'm glad you like Biloxi. I don't know if they had to call the state police when you visited Biloxi, but they had to call the state police when I visited Albuquerque. So maybe that's just different ways that we are
specifically
received.
For you. Like, what did you do?
Oh, no. I dared to speak at the university. So. Yeah. So.
And they called the state police on you?
No, they were going to me, so the state police had to come in. So that was, yeah.
I hope that, I'm glad you're not dead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry that happened.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's base level agreement that we both have on that. So I think crime's a problem.
We solved the political divide, Tomi.
Yeah, I think crime's a problem everywhere, and I hope that red states and blue states and all cities, I hope they really crack down on it. There's no protest for me. I think we need to lock people up. I think we need to put people in jail. I think we need to keep them there. And I'm not somebody who's a soft on crime person or somebody who's like, oh, I think we should just let the teens go to arts and crafts. Like, no, I think that they need to learn the hard way that there are consequences for their actions. And I hope that that's happening everywhere. I don't care if a Mississippi degenerate or an LA degenerate or a Chicago degenerate. I think all the degenerates should be in jail.
Yeah. But again, I want to hammer this point home because I really do doubt the sincerity of Donald Trump caring about crime. And forget January 6th for a second. I'll set that talking point aside. But the point that I want to make is a month and a half ago, he signed the Republican budget into law and they cut billions of dollars in funding for police, billions of dollars. So if it was a problem then, like there's going to be fewer cops on the street across the United States because of the Republican budget. Donald Trump didn't care then. So if he actually cares and it's not just an attempt to distract from Epstein or the economy or God knows what else, then he should be consistent on that and he should try to get that money back.
I thought it was the left that wanted to defund the police, but maybe I'm just mistaken.
Well, there are people on the left who wanted to defund the police, but Donald Trump actually defunded the police.
Oh, you think so? You think?
Well, did he sign the Republican budget?
Yeah, having a budget is different than wanting to defund the police because you say that they're racist.
No, the budget is what funds the police. So if you sign a budget that cuts police funding, then you're defunding the police.
You think so?
You
think so? So you think
as somebody manages a household budget, if I cut my budget on something, I have less money to do it. Yeah. Then I have defunded that thing.
Yeah. Well, we have to all work within a budget, but I think you'd be hard pressed to say that President Trump wants to defund the police. Again,
President Trump did defund the police.
Okay.
Billions of dollars are gone for community policing. There'll be fewer cops on the street because of it. Okay. That's an objective fact.
Well, I want more cops on every street and the National Guard where needed. So that's my position on it.
I don't think we need the National Guard. I don't, but I do think like I'm pro more cops. I don't have any problem with getting more cops on the streets.
Okay, so
as long as they're properly trained and they're doing the job they're supposed to do. My other problem with what happened in Washington, D.C. on that point, talked about my dad being in the FBI. If they're pulling FBI agents, I think they pulled something like 400 or 500 FBI agents off the streets so that they can go deal with drunk girls in Georgetown. You know what they're not doing? So what I worry about is, again, Donald Trump playing politics with crime in Washington, D.C., now making us less safe for federal criminals, because that's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Well, and again, Kash Patel is a friend of mine. I think Kash Patel is an excellent leader, and I think that the numbers that he's been able to rack up of the things that you just talked about have been incredible, and I trust his judgment there. If they need to spend 30 days to get DC in order and to make people feel safe walking down the street so that they don't have to, lock up the deodorant at the CVS because teen degenerates are running rampant and carjacking and, beating people senseless, I think that it's a good use of resources for 30 days. Then after that, we can have a discussion. Speaking of that point, though, I do want to ask you about some other elements of your party. I know you're a white dude for Harris. You said you're not necessarily a white dude for Gavin. I wonder if you're a white dude for some of the more communist candidates that are cropping up in your party. Of course, Mondani in New York City. And then this gentleman who had a rally in Minneapolis. I don't have the translation. It's sad that we need one, but take a look at this.
Yeah. Virginia qaboobaa lagu dhalay laakiinse waan adopt gareynay siidarna wax badan ma joogine ma soo saarna hadaba asagoo ma yar
I have no idea what that woman said. She sounded very angry. But do you think it's at all problematic that some of our great American cities, and especially in liberal places like Minneapolis or New York City, are going this route? And as a Democrat Party, do you think that this is going to help y'all win general elections?
What route are you worried about? I didn't actually. There was no sound on my end, so I couldn't hear what she was saying.
Okay, I don't know what she was saying. I wasn't English. A couple things.
Okay.
One, that these candidates are.
Omar Fattah is Somali, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So in a lot of Midwestern cities, there's a large Somali population from refugees. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, where we had a bunch. I grew up around a ton of people who were Somali, particularly in religious communities, in the Christian community, in Catholics. So here's the situation. Like, I don't know a ton about Omar Fattah. I know a lot more about Zoran Mondani, which I think is really where you're going at here, because New York City is moving in a direction where the Democratic voters voted for a DSA candidate who I believe is very likely to win. I would frame it this way. The establishment in both political parties are not doing enough to deliver for the American people, particularly on the economy. And when you're not offering people solutions to help them buy a house, start a family, retire with dignity, get a good paying job, they're going to turn to more out of the mainstream options. I would argue that Donald Trump is president of the United States today because the establishment wing of the Republican Party didn't offer Republican primary voters or the American people enough to feel like they were going to fight for them. So Trump found a lane. Now, I don't think Trump is doing anything to help improve the economy. I believe he's a disaster of a president. You disagree with me, which is fine. In New York City, Zoran Mondani is here because the establishment rallied behind Andrew Cuomo, who is a sexual predator. And he didn't campaign. He didn't have any vision for the future in New York City. He doesn't even live there. So, of course, they're going to turn to somebody who shows up and says, I care about you. I give a shit about you. I'm going to center the campaign in your issues, and I'm at least going to try. Whether or not Zoran can do a lot of the things that he's saying is sort of irrelevant, but at least people believe that he's going to fight for them. And that's what's happening. It's not, they're entirely different people with entirely different policy positions. But Donald Trump and Zoran are similar in the sense that they found a lane with people who believe that the establishment in both parties don't believe in them.
Yeah.
Aren't going to help them.
They're disruptors, right? But I'm wondering, from your perspective as a Democrat strategist, when you have the rising stars being people who are openly hostile to capitalism, who have said things like globalize the Intifada, and, NYPD is racist, they are not for queer liberation, is defunding police, all these things. Do you think that that's helpful to raise these people up as pillars of your party? And I'm not saying this as like a gotcha. I'm just really curious because I think the Democrat Party is going to have to make a real choice if that's the direction that they want to go in. It feels like a lot of the energy is ticking that direction.
Well, it should be noted that Zoran Mondani has specifically said many times in the campaign that he's not going to defund the police. So I want to note that because
what are all the tweets then? I mean, what you don't go from like defund the police are racist, they're not for queer liberation. You don't go from that.
I don't want to get bogged. Let me answer your actual question, right? Which is the Democratic Party is a big tent party. So it means we're going to have people in our party who are in the DSA wing from Zoran Mondani. It's going to stretch all the way out to guys who are former Republicans, like my buddy Joe Walsh. Okay, he was a former Republican congressman from Illinois. So it's going to be big and it's going to be varied. And I would much rather have a big, messy tent of a Democratic Party that has real, meaningful discussions about how we're going to help people than being a party of one person. The Republican Party is a party of one man, and that man is Donald Trump. And if you stand opposed to Donald Trump, he's going to come after you hard. These Indiana Republicans right now who don't want to gerrymander the state of Indiana to squeeze out Frank Mervyn so Republicans can get one extra House race, Donald Trump in the White House threatened to primary them yesterday. So if you disagree with Donald Trump on one thing, you get kicked right off the boat. So do I have a lot of disagreements with Zohran Mamdani on issues? I absolutely do. Do I have a lot of disagreements with Joe Walsh on the other end on issues? Sure. But I'd rather be in a party that is ideologically diverse, that is actually trying to solve problems for people. And I always put it to people this way, because I get asked all the time why I'm a member of the Democratic Party when the Democratic Party pisses me off the way that it does, frustrates me to hell, makes bad decisions, gets us in a situation. Like, I think Donald Trump is president today because of the Democratic Party. But the reason I'm a member is because I believe it's the only party in America that gives whether or not you have a good paying job, can buy a house, can start a family on your own terms, and live the life of dignity that you want. And I don't believe the Republican Party cares about that or believes in that. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. So if that means I'm working with Zohran Mamdani to try to help people buy a house or be able to put groceries on the table, great. If that means I'm working with Joe Walsh or somebody in the center, that's fine. And also, I'm going to add one final thought. Zohran is not the only person who is being elevated in the party right now. He's the person who is most visible because he won a race in New York City, and conservatives love to just elevate him. But there's a ton of other really great young new candidates who are stepping up. Bridget Brink in Michigan, Mallory McMorrow, Lauren Underwood. I could spend all day naming a bunch of them. Jake Rakoff. There's a ton of really great young Democrats who are stepping up to be the future of the party. And they are all very different candidates with very different ideologies and very different POVs. All Republicans are going to call them communists, whether they're Zohran Mamdani or not.
When they say that they're a communist, or they say that they're a socialist, or they say the things that they're saying, or that they don't believe in capitalism.
But Mallory McMorrow won't do that, and other Democrats won't do that.
The
problem is the Republicans call everybody a communist. I'm a communist.
But I've never heard of these people. So I'm wondering more, like there very well could be a new crop of Democrats coming up. I'll trust your perspective on that. But they're certainly not leading the party right now. In fact, I don't really know who is. I know that that's the line, is like, we're a big tent, we're all this, we're all that. Like, that's fine. But when you've got somebody who is the face of the party right now, I mean, I think it's Mamdani, because I don't know who else would be. I don't think it's
Mamdani's only the face of the party because the conservative media wants to make it.
We're able to make someone the leader of your party. You're giving us a lot of power.
Yeah, you guys are really good at doing that. You're really good at it. I'll give you a lot of credit for that. Like, the conservative ecosystem is super good at driving the conversation in a way that the left just isn't.
Yeah. So you think that having a socialist candidate who will probably be the mayor of New York City getting attention is because conservatives made it that way?
Well, I think he's getting the national attention that he is. I think he's being called the face of the Democratic Party because you're calling him the face of the party, because Donald Trump is attacking him. I mean, Trump's been pretty vocal about how he wants to make Zohran the big, great boogeyman of the midterms, because that's the path for Republicans. Because again, in the midterms, the Republicans are polling pretty poorly right now. Democrats have probably an 8 to 10% advantage. And the only way that they're going to be able to win is, one, gerrymandering states like Texas so that they can squeeze out more votes, or squeeze out more House seats, excuse me, or if they can create some big, scary boogeyman to make people think that Democrats are all socialists and we're frothing at the mouth to take away your guns, which isn't true. But you've got to create an illusion of Democrats.
You think so?
So that, and that's what Zohran represents for you guys.
So if he wins and he's the mayor of New York City, and that's a Democrat who wins the mayor of New York City, you think that that would be us elevating him as the leader of the party, not the fact that he won the mayor's race for New York City? I mean, I get what you're saying here, that like Republicans are making this a boogeyman, but it's not us that are voting in New York City, really. I mean, we're not. It's not us that are making these people.
Eric Adams, hold on though. Can I push back on that? Because is Eric Adams a leader in the Democratic Party right now? Was Bill de Blasio a leader in the Democratic Party right now? Like, the answer to that was objectively no.
Yeah, but we don't decide. We don't decide who's the leader of your party.
No, you're correct. You're correct that New York City primary voters are going to decide who the mayor of New York City is.
Yeah.
Being the mayor of New York City does not make you the leader of the Democratic Party.
Who's the leader of the Democrat Party then?
I mean, we're going to be a little bit leaderless until we have a presidential primary. Like, the leader of the Republican Party is Donald Trump because he's president of the United States.
But
when he was in the wilderness after losing, like, you guys didn't have a leader either.
No. Donald Trump has been the leader of our party since 2015. Donald Trump has been the leader of our party. So there was never a time where we were like, who's the leader? Like, it was Donald Trump, and it has been Donald Trump.
There were years where there were several years where he was basically gone and defunct, and he was only on Truth Social posting, which I'm sure made him very culturally relevant for you, Tommy. But to most people, he was gone and nobody knew who the leader of the Republican Party was.
I mean, you're being
which is part of the reason that he came right back,
because
nobody stepped up to fill that void. The best you had was Ron DeSantis.
And I love Ron DeSantis, by the way. But when you say that we're deciding who the leader of your party is, maybe that's because you guys can't pick one. Because maybe your options
we're not
are
going to
all
pick one
crap.
until we have a presidential
Okay.
primary.
So
Like,
you're gonna go all the way until running up to 2028 without a leader.
I mean, that's what happens in the American political system.
Okay. Well, usually you either have like the Speaker of the House, you have, a minority or majority leader. Like
Sure. I mean,
usually
we
you've
have
got-
Chuck Schumer and we have Hakeem Jeffries, but who was the leader of the Democrat or the Republican Party when Barack Obama was president for 8 years? Who was that person?
Well, we had a time.
You tell me it was Tom Boehner?
We had some. Well, we had some problems before President Trump. Like, you're not going to get
Sure.
me to defend the rhinos, right? I agree with you. It's not like a but you. I'm not saying this. It's not. I don't care what you guys do. Like, you guys can wear tutus and sing the song about Trump, in D.C. all you want. I don't care. I'm just asking you from your expert perspective if you think you have a leader. I don't care if you do or don't.
Well, I think we have a lot of leaders right now.
Okay.
That's what I think it is. And I think until we have the presidential primary, we're not going to elevate one voice or one person forward, which is typically what happens in this system. The problem is the Republican Party, to your point, since 2016 has been a party of one man.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
just
really
Donald
more of
Trump.
an idea.
And whether or not he thinks he can run for a third term or not, he can't. And he's gone. So you guys are going to have to figure out who your next leader is. We're actually going to be in a really interesting moment in American history
sure are.
with 2 open presidential primaries, which I don't think we've had since 2008.
And I can't wait. Just real quickly, though, before I let you go, you think Gavin Newsom is going to be president?
No, if I had to guess, no. Only because it's such a crapshoot to run for president in the first place.
So you don't think that everything that he's doing right now to elevate himself early, you don't think that's working?
Well, I think it's working, but its intended target is like very online liberals who are going to get really excited. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of time between now and when there's any votes. We don't even know what the first state's going to be for the Democratic Party. So I don't know who's going to be president. I think anybody who predicts that is silly. Like, I don't particularly think Gavin Newsom would be a great candidate for the Democrats in a general election. I've said that before, but I don't think what he's doing right now is going to correlate to a victory 2 years from now.
Yeah, I don't either. Last question. I promise this is the last one. Do you
Very
hope
good.
that Kamala runs again? You're a white dude for Harris.
I love Kamala. I think if she gets in, like, voters are going to have to make that choice. She was a great boss for me. That's how I would put it. So.
Okay. So you do want to see her run again, or you want to see her not run again?
I don't really have an opinion. I want to see her do what's best for her family
Okay.
and herself.
Well, she's got a book coming out, so
Yes, she does.
for now, we'll leave it there. I really appreciate the conversation. I hope that you will come back because I think that these dialogues are important and I really enjoy it. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And please do come back.
Thank you. I did and I will. Thanks,
Awesome.
Tommy.
Thanks so much. All right, folks. Even Bill Maher had to admit our president is a peacemaker and the left hates it. It's time for final thoughts.
I say, Thailand and Cambodia were having firing at each other. Rwanda and the Congo. Most people don't even know about these. India and Pakistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan. He got involved in all of them. But again, let's not have the zombie lie that he's still backing Putin because, first of all, he bombed Iran. That was a Putin ally. He didn't get out of NATO. I see. Yeah.
I mean, it crushed some norms having him walk across a red carpet while Trump clapped. I mean, that generally,
Oh, come
Putin
on.
doesn't
Are
get...
we really going to go through this kind of like it's like...
Imagine hearing all of those examples from liberal Bill Maher, no less, on all the instances President Trump has brokered peace or ended conflict, and then whining about a carpet. It's no wonder NBC Universal kicked MSNBS out of the fold. In a matter of a few days, our president has made huge strides towards ending Biden's war in Ukraine, and the left is still angry about it. Nothing will ever be good enough for them. Trump could save a black trans refugee from drowning, and they'd say he starved the sharks. They don't care about peace, and they don't care about Ukraine or the people of Ukraine. In the span of about 6 months, President Trump has provoked the left into being pro-criminal illegal alien, pro-crime, pro-patriarchy in women's sports, and now anti-peace. It shouldn't be that hard to root for peace, and it shouldn't be that hard to root for America, for goodness sake. What did President Joe do for peace? Can anyone name a single damn thing? And to that point, all he did for Ukraine was write a blank check to Zelensky. He didn't stop the He didn't broker a deal. He was asleep. Hell, he couldn't even get Zelensky to change out of his tracksuit. Add that to the list of things President Trump has accomplished. Look, we all have our political sides and teams, and we all want those sides and those teams to beat the other electorally, but we should all still root for the good, the peaceful, and an end to endless war. This new Democrat Party is nasty. It's just nasty. The true colors are showing, and they're ugly. And those are my final thoughts. Tune in tomorrow live, 1 p.m. Eastern. Catch full episodes on Outkick and Fox Nation. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless, and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. For more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Just click right here so you never miss a beat. I will be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.